Rev it up and welcome to Cars Yeah, show number 1279.
You will get all you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want.
This is Cars Yeah, where you'll enjoy interviews with inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Mark Green is here to provide you with a fuel injection of automotive inspiration. So get in, sit down, buckle up, and get ready for a wild ride here on Cars Yeah.
Hello, automotive enthusiasts. I'm revved up and so excited to introduce today's very special guest calling in from McConnell, South Carolina, Jeff Lambert. Hey, Jeff, are you buckled up and ready for a fun ride?
I'm ready for it.
All right. Now, there's a guy that always gets buckled up before he goes for a ride because he goes for very fast rides. Jeff Lambert is the president of RaceSponsorships.net, an organization that helps grassroots racers obtain sponsorships through their sponsorship proposals. He is also the president and founder of Armed Forces Racing, which is a nonprofit 501c3 that provides veterans with an opportunity to compete in motorsports, more specifically, drag racing. He offers veterans the opportunity to experience the excitement of building a drag racer and driving it while building friendships with other veterans. Jeff himself is a veteran of the United States Navy and served aboard the USS Carl Vinson as part of the crash and salvage crew. He is a drag racer who has earned 2 track championships. And I want to thank you, Jeff, for your service to this great country we live in. So, Jeff, I've told our listeners a little bit about you. Would you take a moment and share a little bit more about what you're up to and your passion for racing and automobiles before we jump into the questions?
Sure. Yeah, like you mentioned, served in the United States Navy, was deployed to the Persian Gulf for the first Gulf War that time around. And when I got out of the service, I just kind of went back to my passion and love for cars. And here we are with Armed Forces Racing and RaceSponsorships.net today.
And here we go. Well, by the way, too, I've been aboard the USS Carl Vinson. I got invited to explore that beautiful aircraft carrier. Oh, my gosh. It's a whole city in and of itself. Absolutely incredible vessel. Yeah. Just amazing. How many people are aboard a ship like that when it's deployed?
Today it's probably different, but when I was in, it was about 5,000 people.
5,000. Oh my! Mm-hmm. I'm just trying to imagine dinner. What that must be like. It's just it must be serving food all day long.
There's 3 galleys. There's one in the forward, mid, and aft of the ship. You could have breakfast, lunch, or supper any time of the day you wanted.
Wow.
So we were actually stationed. I was stationed in Bremerton there, not far from you.
Just north of me. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. That's when I got to go aboard. I had a friend who was a rear admiral and got me some nice access. We also got to go aboard the USS Georgia, which is a boomer submarine, which was absolutely fascinating. Yeah, when they would let us pedestrians aboard submarines. I think they've stopped all that now, but I was very lucky to be on board of that as well. So, and I remember when I was a kid, I got to have a dinner on the USS Ticonderoga, which is an aircraft carrier way back when in San Diego. I think they actually picked up some of the guys that came back from outer space one time in a space capsule, picked them up out of the ocean. So, absolutely spectacular. Well, again, thank you for your service. And as we continue on your journey, I always like to start with a success quote. This is a saying that's been instrumental in forming your life and your success. It's a really nice way to get the inspirational tires smoking since you're a drag racer here on Cars Yeah. So, Jeff, take the wheel.
Sure. So my favorite, I've lived pretty much, my wife and I have lived our whole life by this. And it was a quote by Zig Ziglar. And he said, "You will get all you want in life if you help enough other people get what they want."
Yeah.
My wife and I lived our lives with the purpose of trying to make others' dreams come true and help them, live a life, a purpose-filled life. Yeah. And we've always kind of fell back to this quote.
Well, I'll tell you something. You learned the secret sauce to life. Of course, Zig Ziglar, I mean, what a guy. That guy was incredible, and his quotes and the way he went through life and taught and helped people. But I'll tell you, after interviewing, you're my 1,279th guest here on Cars Yeah, I've learned a couple secrets about life, being happy. And one of them is exactly what you just said. We as human beings are happiest when we're helping others. Whether we even recognize it or not, it does something to us inside that makes us feel good, that makes us happy. And that's the secret sauce to life. But Jeff, you figured it out and you've run your whole life. And And that's how I found you. I mean, you're helping veterans in some spectacular ways. I've had several guests on the show here who do something similar to you. One was a guy who helped veterans build motorcycles. Another was take them on motorcycle trips, especially veterans with PTSD that really needed some help to get their mind off of what was going on in their mind and focus on something. And we're going to talk about what you're doing with this racing. But first, I want to kind of set the stage for who you are. And you set it off nicely there with Zig Ziglar's quote. But I want you to share a story that instigated your passion for cars, for racing. Tell us about that pivotal moment in your life when you knew you were a car guy.
So, as a kid, and this may be totally crazy to some, but it was J.C. Whitney catalogs.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, I would sit at them and I would like, oh, man, I'd like to have those wheels on this car. You know, I probably built 1 million cars out of a J.C. catalog in my head before I ever owned a car, you know. So it was I think when I look back at what made me like cars and want to build cars and put cars together, I always go back to looking through those J.C. Whitney catalogs. But what got me into drag racing was whenever I left the service and I came out of the service, I was working out of town and I would travel back home on the weekends. And so one weekend I didn't go home and there was a drag strip just around the corner and I went down there and sit and I got hooked. That was it for me. I had to have a drag car, and I mean that's a whole another hour story we won't go down, but that's when I got hooked right there.
Yeah. Let me ask you this, because when I was a kid, I lived down in La Jolla, California, part of San Diego County. And back then, Orange County was pretty much orange groves. And my dad used to take me up to Orange County Raceway, the drag strip there. As a little kid sitting there, the sound and the pressure when those cars would go by on your chest was incredible. What was it about that drag racing experience when you were young that did bite you? What noise, smell, combination? What was it?
You know, I parked my truck right there at the finish line. So, and it's bracket racing, so it's handicapped racing. So I didn't really understand what was going on, but there was a gentleman there by the name of Steve Foley, who's very well known in the bracket racing world. He was standing there and I said, "What's going on here?" And he kind of just explained it to me. And it just seemed to be one of those things where I caught on to pretty quick what was happening. And and whether it sounds cocky or not, in my head, I said, "Oh, I'm going to be really good at this." and I've got to prove that.
Yeah. Now I got to go do it. So how long was it after that time that you actually got on a drag strip?
3 years.
Okay.
Yeah,
well,
3 years.
That's a good setup, to learn what you're doing and build. You build your own car?
I did. That's why it took 3 years, because nobody else was going to let you drive their car, a rookie.
Well,
right?
of course.
So.
Yeah, probably not. I'm not so sure I would have tossed a rookie the keys to my car either to go do that. But wow, well, that sounds like fun. Well, I never did drag racing. I did vintage racing, road course racing, that kind of thing, and always enjoyed that. But drag racing, never really had a vehicle for it. But when you go to a drag race, especially, Top Fuel drags, is just insane. It's hard to believe what's going on and how fast they are. But I'm so glad you got bit and look where you are today. Well, let's take a look at some of the roads you've driven down and talk about a big challenge or a big failure that you faced along the way. I like this question because it helps people who might be going through the same thing know that there's an answer, there's a light at the end of that tunnel. So walk us through that experience and tell us what it taught you.
Yeah, starting Armed Forces Racing was a big challenge for us. And I say starting it is the capital. We weren't a nonprofit organization when I started that. So we had the capital to be able to go through that process was the biggest challenge. And then going through all the red tape and all the laws to become a 501c3, I got lucky and had people that was willing to invest in us and willing to take the time to, like the attorney, to help us draw up the paperwork and things like that. So I guess the biggest challenge of getting that started was getting through the paperwork for the government to become that 501c3 status.
Yeah,
right,
a lot of bureaucracy with that stuff. But it's really important because it helps you in many, many ways, right?
It does. It does, because that allowed our program to grow. Now we have, companies that come on board with us to help us, and we had individuals, several disabled veteran companies in the area, got on board with us, and J&L Fleet Service was one of the biggest contributors to help us pay for all of the attorney fees and the application fees and things like that. So people got on board when that happened.
Yeah. Well, they see what you're really all about. Would you say to somebody who's trying to tackle something like this, the best way, and you kind of alluded to this, the best way to tackle something that's complex like this is reach out for help. Ask people for help.
That is right. Ask for help. I would say the best advice I could give someone that's going to start a nonprofit is maybe to work under another nonprofit when you start out.
Gain some experience and some seat time, if you will. From somebody who's been there and done it, because there's a lot of curves when it comes to government bureaucracy, correct?
There is, and I was lucky enough to have a mentor that I went and searched out and found a mentor, because I'd already jumped in head first in the middle of this, and so I went and found a mentor, and then I actually invited a gentleman that had started his own nonprofit before to be on the board, so he could help guide. So to be honest with you, if it wasn't for him helping write a lot of those things, we probably would have probably still be trying to do it today.
Yeah, no doubt. You want to give him a shout out?
Ty Medina, he's the vice president on our board. Mm-hmm.
There you go. Yeah, well, shout out to Ty for jumping in and helping somebody in need. It's absolutely fantastic. Again, paying it forward, just like what you're doing with Armed Forces Racing and race sponsorships. Let's talk about your first really special car. Maybe it was your first car, maybe it was your first drag car, and maybe share a memory you have about that ride.
Sure. Okay. So I drive a 1964 Ford Galaxy.
That's your daily driver?
No, that's my drag car.
Oh, that's your drag?
That's
okay,
my drag
well,
car.
that's cool. That's cool.
And that's the car that started Armed Forces Racing. So that would, if people know me, would know that would be the obvious answer. But I got to tell you that probably the most special car I ever had was an old beat up black 1959 Ford F-100 that I bought out of Ohio, because I'm originally from Kentucky. And so I bought this truck out of Ohio. What made that truck so special and the great memory for that vehicle was just trying to get the thing home, first of all. Mark, it was so beat up and so rusty. I actually got pulled over by a state trooper because I was pulling it on a dolly and not even on a trailer. And a state trooper pulled me over.
Wait a minute. You were pulling it on a dolly?
Yeah, I had just a two-foot dolly. I mean, this thing, I bought it out of a guy's field. It had a Dodge 318 engine in it that started. I got in the truck, actually just started. A mouse ran out of the seat and down my arm. We about got ate up with waspers just trying to get this thing loaded up. So I've got this thing on the dolly and I'm headed home, and this state trooper pulls me over. He's like, "Are you sure that thing is even safe to be out here being pulled on the road?"
Yeah.
He didn't give me a ticket or anything. He just like, yeah, I said, I got to get it home. I bought it and I think it's fine. It's got good tires. So I get the thing home, and now I lived up on this hill. And just to kind of set the scene, I lived up on this hill, and down at the bottom of this hill was a four-way stop. Mm-hmm. So I'm trying to get this truck off of this dolly. And as I back it off the dolly, the brakes go out.
Oh, no. Uh-oh.
I go backwards all the way through that four-way stop.
Oh, gosh. This sounds like a YouTube video gone bad.
Oh, my goodness. Too bad we didn't have GoPros back then. But the bad thing about it, Mark, was when I got through the four-way stop, it was back uphill the other side, and I couldn't stop it.
So you went up?
And I came back through the
You came back through. I just see that coming. Oh, my gosh.
Goodness. I actually wrecked the thing in the ditch on purpose so that I wouldn't go back through that four-way
Yeah, because you'd just be going back and forth until you'd end up in the four-way stop, right?
Exactly. So I wrecked it. I just put it in the ditch. I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
Borrowed a buddy's trailer, called my dad and said, "I got a truck. Do you want it? You can have it."
Yeah, I'm done with this thing.
I gave it to my dad.
Oh, well, hey, happy Father's Day, Dad.
Exactly. Yeah. I went and bought another one.
He probably scratched his head going, "Why did you give me this?"
Mm-hmm.
Very funny. Oh, what a story. That's hilarious. I'm just picturing you going back and forth until it finally stopped. That's funny. Well, gee, as if we're not already having fun here, let's have a little more fun. How about seller's remorse? Now, I say fun, but it's the memories of cars that are really worthwhile. So is there a car you've let go that you really wish you had back?
So I don't really have a remorse about selling it, I guess, as much as I did. I sold it too cheap.
Ah.
So I went and bought another 59 Ford after that one.
Okay.
And then guy come up and offered me some money one day for it, and I sold it. And that's what I regret about getting rid of that truck was I just sold it to him too cheap. Really.
Yeah. Well, old trucks like that are so cool. And I think it's a kind of thing that all of us car folks, enthusiasts, always kind of secretly want. Maybe not secretly, but some of us just love to have an old truck from the 50s, 60s maybe. When I was at the Classic Auto Show down in Costa Mesa last month, enjoying all the cars there, they had a whole area of trucks that were just beautiful. I mean, some of them were pretty much just all customized. Some of them were stock, but restored to stock. Some were just slammed all the way down. They could barely get over the blades of grass. They were just so cool. But old trucks, yeah, special place in everyone's heart for a truck. Well, I would love for you to talk about these two programs that you're involved with. I know one of your companies, Race Sponsorships, that I mentioned in the introduction. I know if you could touch on that a little bit, but the real heartstrings here is the Armed Force Racing. So tell our listeners what has you excited and fired up about what you're doing there.
Sure. With racesponsorships.net, that is what happened was in October of last year, I decided to quit my full-time job and run Armed Forces Racing full-time because it was just requiring that much time to do it. And so I still needed my side hustle kind of a thing. And I had been writing sponsorship proposals for friends and different companies and things like that and other race teams to help them get their sponsorships. And I thought, you know what? That'd be just a great side business for me. I could keep doing that and make some money because Armed Forces Racing is a nonprofit. It's not in a position where it can pay a salary. That's how that came about. And we've been very successful since October. We're at a 90% success rate right now with people getting sponsorships with our proposals. Yeah.
That's incredible. Well,
it is incredible.
Congratulations. I should
Thank you.
Hire you to look for sponsors for me, for goodness sake. Wow. That's just awesome. Well, Armed Forces Racing is the key reason I tracked you down, found you on Facebook. We're Facebook friends. I looked at what Jeff was doing and I said, you know what, this story needs to get out there because this guy is doing some really, really great things for veterans that need some help, veterans that just want to do something fun and they don't know how to do it. And this is the guy for us. So tell us about Armed Forces Racing.
Sure. So here's how Armed Forces Racing started. A 64 Galaxy I bought in 2005 that we talked about a little bit a while ago.
Yeah.
That's how I got started into racing. That was the first car that I built. I had to throw it in storage for about 7 years when we moved, and we finally bought a house down here in South Carolina. I dragged the car out, put it in the garage, and it is a total mess, and it needs a restoration. I just would be embarrassed to take that car to the racetrack to try to race it the way it looked. And I told my wife, I said, let's do something special with the car. Let's build it as a military tribute car to my fellow veterans. And so that's what we did. But I had a neighbor up here, 2 houses up from me, come down one day and introduce himself. His name is Rick Farrell, and he's a Vietnam veteran. And he's just started hanging out and hung out, and he's been a car guy his whole life. And I thought I knew about cars, but I didn't know anything about cars until he came in the shop and started teaching.
Nice.
So he said to me, and his wife said to me, you know, what you're doing and him helping you build and restore this car has really impacted his life. And I told my wife, I said, you know what, maybe there's something there. And so that's how Armed Forces Racing got started. So it was just a way to impact veterans, and it all started with that 64 Galaxy. So now we have a 92 Mustang GT that Rick, he's the crew chief. We call him the crew chief. He and I built this car with the other guys on the board and some volunteers, some veterans. Car was donated, and now every Thursday we go to the local drag strip here, and we invite 2 veterans out, and they get to come and do a ride along in the car. They get to be on the crew and learn about all those things. And I'm telling you, it's a major hit for us. The veterans are loving it. They go and tell their buddies, and they bring their buddies out, and we just can't get enough of doing that kind of stuff. We built that car purposely to have 2 seats. It's not a very fast car. It's fast enough, but it's not very fast, you know. And then now we're letting veterans, after they go through our classes and become qualified, they get to race the car in an actual race.
Cool. Well,
Yeah.
that, it's a tremendous thing. Maybe you can share a story or two, if you'd like, of the real impact this has made on some of the guys that you've worked with. I mean, what do you hear back from them that makes you go, man, this is so good?
Sure. So we had a veteran out of Tennessee called us up, and he actually drove him and his whole family in the RV down to Florida to meet us. He said, I just never had any purpose when I got out. He's disabled. He got poisoned in Afghanistan through the water system over there. He was a helicopter pilot, and it took his pilot license away from him because of it. And, and just almost died 2 or 3 times. But what he told me was, he said, I never could find a purpose or a mission when I got back home. And what you gave me was that purpose and mission. And not only that, but what he did afterwards was, he didn't go start a nonprofit organization, but he went and started his own race team. And now he's up in Tennessee doing the similar things for other veterans.
Well, so he's paying it forward.
He's paying it forward. Yeah. So
Wow.
that's one of my favorite stories, to tell whenever somebody asks that question, because it's for it to mean that much to someone, for them to go and do it and then pay it forward to other veterans. What better compliment could you take?
Well, yeah, it brings to mind that great quote, I believe from the Bible, that feed a man, he'll eat for a day, teach him to fish, he'll
Right.
eat for a lifetime, and he'll, hopefully, I'll add this part to it, he'll teach others how to fish so they can feed themselves as well. That's a heartwarming story, and that must have made you feel incredible.
Oh, it did. It did for sure. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's just, again, it's the secret to being a happy person is helping others. And what you're doing here is absolutely spectacular. So kudos to you and your team. Where can people find out more about Armed Forces Racing?
ArmedForcesRacing.org is our website, or you can go to Facebook at Armed Forces Racing there. Those are the 2 best ways to follow along and see what we're doing. If you need to get in touch with me or something, you can always message me through one of those 2 places.
There you go. I'll make sure I put that on Jeff's show notes page on the Cars Yeah website. So Jeff, up next is the last lap, or the last run, as we should say in drag racing. But before we put the pedal to the metal, let's say thank you to today's Cars Yeah sponsors that make it all happen. Hey, fellow automotive enthusiasts, I'm a huge fan of Covercraft. I've protected my vehicles with their products since 1975. That's right, all the way back to my high school days. Want to keep your vehicle's exterior and interior looking new? It's easy with a Covercraft car cover. A car cover is the best way to keep your vehicle looking great for years to come. Car covers protect your paint from fallout, birds, dust, rain, insects, and pollen. It's a fast, easy, and inexpensive way to keep your vehicle looking new. I use my Covercraft car covers every single day. Right now, you can get 10% off all Covercraft custom car covers or their ready-fit car covers. Plus, they offer you over 15 quality fabrics to choose from. Their spring sale is from April 15th through June 16th, 2019. Order direct at covercraft.com and tell them Mark at Cars Yeah sent you. Covercraft is the right choice. Learn more today at covercraft.com. That's covercraft.com. Are you looking for a way to get your products or services into the ears of thousands of automotive enthusiasts around the globe? I can help. This is Mark Green here at Cars Yeah, and I'd be honored to be an influencer and ambassador for your brand in a unique and personal way. 5 days a week, thousands of subscribers and listeners enjoy the Cars Yeah podcast and website. Contact me today and I'll show you how at mark@carsyeah.com or connect with me through the Cars Yeah website at carsyeah.com. Hey, Mark Green here from the Cars Yeah podcast. Did you know you can now see me on the Cars Yeah TV show? That's right, Cars Yeah is now on MAV TV. I visit some of the past Cars Yeah guests and take you along for the ride. Go to mavtv.com to learn more where you can enjoy Cars Yeah TV. MAV TV is also available on DirecTV, Fubo TV, Fios by Verizon, or you can stream it through mavtv.com online. And they said I only had a face for podcasting. All right, Jeff, we are back, and here's a bit of an introspective question. If you were a car, if you woke up tomorrow and you were manifested into being a vehicle, what would Jeff be and why?
A Shelby GT500.
Oh, a nice car.
Yeah.
Yeah, very nice car. Well, a fast car, something you could take to the drag strip and have a little bit of fun with, I think, right?
Yeah, that would be exactly the reason why. Yep.
Yeah, very cool. Well, we are up to the last run. I usually call it the last lap, but again, we're talking about drag racing, the last run. I'm going to fire off a series of questions and ask you to give our listeners some quick blips of the throttle answers. So here we go. What's the best automotive advice you've ever received?
Best automotive advice I ever received probably pertains to life as well, and that's just get out and do it. In other words, chase your dreams, get off the couch, and go do something. Even if it's wrong that day, get up and go do something.
Yeah, get involved. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. You'll be so much happier at the end of the day if you just do it. Would you share one of your personal habits you believe has contributed to your success over the years?
Small, attainable goals.
Yeah.
If you can have something that you measure your success by, even if it's a daily, small, attainable goal. I mean, even if it's, well, today I'm going to make sure I get out of bed at 7 o'clock instead of 7:30 so I can get an extra half hour. Something like that, that has been my key to being able to get things done.
You know, something I learned too is if you tend to set goals that are too high and you can't achieve them, you can really wear yourself down and be defeated. So if you've set a goal and you haven't gotten there, just lower the goal a little bit so that you can get to it. And then next time you can set a little higher. It's okay. It's all right to set high goals. But if you set them too high, like you're going to get up at 5 instead of 7, you probably won't do it. So yeah, set it for 6:30 instead of 7 and just kind of move those little increments back. It's a little trick that I think is very helpful for people to attain their goals, but I like the whole concept. How about a resource? Is there a resource that you'd like people to reach out to and learn more about?
Sure. I would like to toot our own horn here just a little bit. And I'd say if you're in the need of some sponsorship help for your race program, give us a check out at racesponsorships.net on Facebook. If you are a veteran or you would like to donate or help veterans, give us a chance there at Armed Forces Racing on Facebook or armedforcesracing.org. And you can donate there or be involved or volunteer and come and help us. There's a lot of different ways to be involved there.
Absolutely. Great resources. I'll make sure those are on Jeff's show notes page on the Cars Yeah website. Now, if I could wave my magic wand and arrange for you to have a drink with anyone in the automotive industry or racing, living or deceased, who would it be?
He's already a friend of mine, so I got to put a little bit extra on this. But okay. Luke Bogacki is his name, and Luke is an entrepreneur in the drag racing world. He is a world champion in the drag racing world, so his resume is quite extensive.
Wow!
And I know him, and I get to spend a little time with him, but if I could just sit down and just get real personal, that would be the person I would like to just be sit down beside of and say, all right, you just teach it and I'll listen.
Well, it's that way. And sometimes you just have to ask when it's an acquaintance that you know and you wish you could spend some time. It's just to ask, hey, I'd really like to take you to lunch, talk about what you do, glean some experience from you, really admire what you're up to. How do you spell his last name? Because he's got an awesome name.
Yeah, it's Bogacki.
There you go. Well, give him a call today. Small little increments, right? Just go out and do it. I just talked to a guy who told me to just go out and do it. Oh, that's you. That's right.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's you. How about a book? Is there a book you've read you think our listeners would enjoy reading?
My favorite book's the Bible. So
okay. Yeah, it's a good one.
That's where I find all my inspiration and guidance.
There you go. Well, I think I quoted one just earlier in our talk today. So if I got that saying right, but I think I did. Well, you can find all these great links on Jeff Lambert's show notes page on the Cars Yeah website. Just go to carsyeah.com, type in Jeff Lambert, Lambert, and that page will pop up with all these great resources. All right, Jeff, we're up to the checkered flag, and this last question can be a bit of a doozy. Today, I'm going to buy you any cool collector car, vintage race car, I don't care what it is. I'm going to buy it for you and park it in your garage, but there's a couple rules to this game. Of course. One is you can't sell it to buy a bunch of racing equipment with. You got to keep it. You've got to drive it. No garage queens allowed. And it's the only cool collector car you can have in your garage. So choose wisely.
Mustang Cobra Jet.
No, we're back to the Mustang.
Yeah, the Mustang Cobra Jet, it's a Ford factory race car, drag car that they do.
Yeah.
That would be the one. So we could get veterans, more driving experiences, ride-alongs, and maybe even probably compete a little bit of NHRA stock class racing.
Yeah, I think so. Very cool. Well, since we're playing fantasy land here today, I'll supply you with as much wheels and tires and oil and gas and all the parts you need with that thing. How does that sound?
I appreciate it.
You like that?
I do.
I think I knew you would.
I'll fill you out a race sponsorships proposal for that.
Okay, you send that to me. All right. There you go. Oh, I wish I could do that for you today. That'd be pretty darn nice. Maybe if my TV show really takes off, Cars Yeah TV on MAV TV, I'll be a big time guy and I can do stuff like that. I think that'd be pretty darn cool. So
you're already big time in my book, Mark.
Well, thank you very much. Well, Jeff, you have taken me on an awesome ride down the drag strip today. Really enjoyed getting to know you better. I'm so glad that we connected on Facebook. That's the power of social media in a positive way. You can meet spectacular people and share their awesomeness with others in the world like I'm doing today. Could you offer us a little parting piece of wisdom or guidance before you take a run in that Mustang Cobra Jet?
Sure. So I'm going to go back to Zig Ziglar on you.
Good.
If you go looking for a friend, you're going to find they're scarce. If you go out to be a friend, you'll find them everywhere. So I would say if you're looking to get into business and you're on that journey, go and be kind to other people, help them grow along with your journey. All successful people that I know always take the time to help others be successful with them.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, listeners, there is another secret sauce to life, and that's exactly what Jeff and I are doing today, is sharing the love, sharing the automotive inspiration with you so that you too can go out and help other people. And again, if people want to help you with what you're doing, what are the best ways for them to find?
armedforcesracing.org or Facebook at Armed Forces Racing. Or they can even email me at jefflambert@armedforcesracing.org.
There you go. And also don't forget racesponsorships.net, another great company that Jeff runs to help people find sponsorships. And listeners, again, you can find everything we've talked about today on Jeff's Cars Yeah show notes page. Just go to carsyeah.com, type in Jeff Lambert, and that page will pop right up. Jeff, hey, thanks for being so generous with your time and expertise and for sharing your experiences and for what you do. Just absolutely heartwarming. Love it what you're doing for veterans. Thank you to all the veterans out there and their family members for what they do, the sacrifices they make every single day. Until you and I talk again, I'll see you down the road.
Thanks, Mark. I enjoyed being on the show, and I appreciate you.
Absolutely. You take care of your cars, but who takes care of your investments? Tune-ups aren't just for engines. Updating your financial plan is important too. Your GPS may take you from A to B, but it won't help you on the road to financial freedom. For that, you need a good co-pilot and a very trusted advisor. Chris Kimball, CFP, is just the man for the job. He'll guide you down that road without driving you crazy. For over 25 years, Chris has helped people just like you and me with their financial planning and investments. With a master's degree in financial services, he is eminently qualified, and he's a car guy too. Learn more at chrisvkimball.com or call 866-ON-A-PLAN. Securities through Money Concepts Capital Corp., member FINRA SIPC. CK Financial Services is not affiliated with Money Concepts Capital Corp.
Thank you so much for joining us on today's ride here at Cars Yeah. Drive on over to carsyeah.com to find show notes and inspiring automotive fun. Download your free copy of Filler Up, a fun book filled with gorgeous photographs of fuel filler fun, including quotes from more inspiring automotive enthusiasts. Download your copy today, and we'll see you next time on Cars Yeah.